always remember, it's always best to not deal with people once you have realized that they are toxic. But sometimes it's unavoidable. You can't help it. And one such incident is in the workplace. Sometimes you can move departments, sometimes you can change jobs. But if it's a skilled type of work where you work for a firm which takes a bit more time in terms of the recruitment process and, you know, experience. So sometimes you may have to work under someone who has more experience than yourself. Sometimes it's okay to buy time and just do what you need to do in certain workplaces. So try to put things in place to move in the future, but don't panic, don't rush, don't jump out of somewhere just because you see someone is toxic. But if you can help it, if you can avoid it, for your own mental health, for your own peace, try not to be around these people. Anyway, another work story. So I was on a job recently, and the job was sent there by our office. We have like a list and we have to go to the specific site. So I was sent to a job, and I got there, and I was kind of like, oh, where is everybody? So I thought I'd wait some time, a little bit of time, and to see if people would turn up. And nobody turned up. So I called the office. I called the person who's in charge of putting together the list, and the person spoke to me. He was like, I was there yesterday. I don't know why nobody's there. Sit tight. And then we'll see what happens. So that's what I did. I sat tight. I did what I was ordered to do. And then another engineer called me. He said to me, was I there? And I said, yeah. He said, oh, I can see you. His van, he just drove past. Is anyone else there? And I said, no, there isn't. So he said, all right, then 1 second. So he called some other person who's like another supervisor. And the supervisor was like, oh, that job was cancelled to come to a different job. So he called me back. I said, oh, let's go to this different job. So we went to this different job. And as I got to that job, the supervisor was there, just started laying into me, telling me, oh, why were you at that job? Why didn't I call him? You're not supposed to just stay there, X, Y, Z. It's common courtesy, it's common sense, this and that. So I was like, well, I called my manager and I called the office and let them know where I was, and they told me to stay there. And I listened to them, and if time would have passed further, I probably would have made another call. But as for the time that I was there, it was relatively very normal, and I kind of followed the correct procedures. And he was just shouting at me. Now, this supervisor, I've kind of felt him just having an itch to, he just wanted to offload, and he's been trying to offload onto me on other occasions, but I hadn't given him the opportunity to. So he felt this was the perfect time for him to offload whatever he's harboring. And this particular supervisor, I had heard him speak about when he was at the job with some other engineers, and how the other engineers were taking cigarette breaks consistently. So when they kept taking cigarette breaks, every time they took a cigarette break, he would stop working. And when one of the big boss managers asked him why was he not working, he told them that because people were outside smoking cigarettes or whatever, and that's why he was doing that. And then nobody was allowed to take cigarette breaks. So he told me this story some months ago, and I just thought, like, really? What you're going to tell on, one, your colleagues, and two, why would you stop working? If someone goes out for a cigarette break, where there might be sort of 3-5 minutes, even if they're 10 minutes gone, yeah, it does add up on a whole day basis. But in terms of our role, it wasn't paying you to just continue working. Like, it doesn't make that much difference, because we all have specific roles, and if you continue to work, you might finish your part faster, so then at the end you can now relax and wait for them to finish their bro. There's really no real reason to stop working. So he told me that story. And when he told me, I was just kind of like a little bit like, that's interesting. So that happened. So it's very, I made a mental note about him when he told me that story, and now he offloaded it onto me. And there was another scenario where we went to buy some drinks, some teas, and they are able to expense the tea, or were able to expense our tea in the morning. And he was getting the tea, and he bought, one of the other colleagues said they didn't want one, but then when it came, that colleague for some reason took one, and then the lady at the place was like, oh, there you go. And I was like, oh, I thought we got everyone a tea. And then he just kind of, I don't know, and made this like, I don't care, like I did what I got mine. So I was like, oh, I'll get my own. But then it came and she sorted it out. But there was always this like, they're just like wanting to just devalue us, or just like take us down a notch without us actually doing anything against them. So I just wanted to talk about that. It's one rule for them and it's one rule for us. Or at least they're very, very big hypocrites, these toxic individuals, these people who suffer from this pathology, this cluster B narcissism, narcissists, or who have narcissistic traits, toxic, manipulative people who also have problems with the dark triad. Now, I want to also add here, I have a colleague that I spoke of in my earlier videos that we started on the same day, and we've been working on quite a few sites together. Now, I was on another site with him. In fact, when the guy was speaking down to me, he was there on the site. And on that particular day, he didn't have a good day in terms of sometimes your ducks fall in a row, and you know what the job you're doing, everything works out. You do your diagrams, you label everything, you wire everything, you fix it all up, and everything works, and there's no problem. You don't have to repair anything or switch materials or go to the manufacturer or suppliers, or everything just works for you. And that's actually like good 85–90% of the time. But he had a bad day, so things didn't line up for him. There was problems with his ladders, there was problems with how things were set up, the tree, and so it took him a lot longer. So I managed to have a good day that day, God willing. So everything worked in my favor. I did everything quick. And the guy who shouted at me actually came up to me and was like, oh, well done. Oh, well, I saw you did that really quickly. Well done, did a good job. And then the next day we were at a course, and the guy that I started with, he came up to me. He said, oh, did you see how that guy was with another group? How he was showing them favoritism. And that guy that was showing them favoritism is the guy who shouted at me. Is the guy, that I started work with, and him, they are in my view, I think they suffer from narcissistic traits, because when the guy who started the same day as me, he has been shown favoritism because he knows someone that works for the business. Came as a referral. And when they were showing him favoritism and giving him certain things to do before me, it wasn't a problem. But now that guy who has a friend who joined, so he has put that friend above him, and then he's now complaining back down to me, oh, these people are showing favoritism. So again, that just shows another inkling of how it's okay when they do it, but when it's done to them, they don't like it. They're very, very big hypocrites. And also there's this constant need to always put things in order, like with them, with these toxic people, like you're first, you're second, you're third, you're fourth. And there's people that are less experienced, less skilled than myself, yet they rank higher than me in the ladder of like who holds importance on the site for now. And you have to go along with that. You have to accept that. But yeah, I just wanted to add that. I should actually make a video of that, because I've got so many other scenarios where that comes into play. They're always ranking people like, oh, you came in with the back of that person's friend, so you're already up here, and we can give you the work that's maybe like a bit more favoritable, or easier. You don't know anyone, so you rank here. Oh, this person knows of my friend and he came off the referral, so I rank him higher than this person and even higher than this person. So they're always like in their mind ranking people, or if this person says something, a joke, or this person says it, or if it's tea time, if that person says it, you tell them, no, we'll go after we do this. But if this person say, they will say, oh, okay, no problem, let's go, or you can go and smoke a cigarette. There's all these like things with them where they have to put people in order in terms of place of importance, which is just hilarious, because in actuality we're all mainly on the same level. There's maybe one person or two that are higher due to them being with the business for longer or having more experience, but even in terms of like knowledge, that it's not really that. But in terms of this specific role, it is that, and you respect that, and that's fine. But in terms of like the actual workers and the installers, the engineers, we're all like level pegging. But you always notice that that guy who shouted, he's always putting people, you know, who's earned the right, who's higher, who's lower. It's just constant. So look at that, look out for that in your all of your scenarios. Just try to avoid these people as you can. Going forward, when I speak to them, I'm just gonna try to agree, just, you know, nod and, oh, I'll find out. Just try to like deflect, and not give any emotions away to them which they like, so supply. So I just wanted to share that with you. Take it easy.